from AUT, and also Nicholas from Victoria. Okay, now welcome them to start their panel.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So they asked me to talk about quantitative research, but I have done both, so I'll say that at the very beginning. So just quickly, I'm going to ask you, I didn't give you handouts because I don't want the faculty to answer this. I'm going to give you a few quick questions at the beginning, whether these are true myth or reality about quantitative scientific research, and then just a few more things. So, all right, the purpose of quantitative research is to prove or confirm theory, right? Does that sound right? Is that true, or is that a myth? How many of the doctoral students think that's true? No, it's a myth. You don't prove or confirm them. You find support or lack of support, and you might have to change your theory if it's wrong later, right? Okay? Don't tell the global warming people this because they all think they've proven it all already. It's my favorite one. Science is done by consensus, right? It's not. Okay, so that's a myth that some people believe. All right. There's a hierarchy of research methods, and experiments, true experiments, are at the top, and they're the only, right? They're the gold standard, the best ones. Anybody believe that one? A lot of people in the US do. No, that's also a myth. It's not true. Okay. Experiments are the principal route to scientific knowledge. Again, this is a real good 1960s US positive point of view. Now, they're one, and actually you can't do the experiments without the qualitative research first to figure out your theory. Hypotheses become theories, and then theories become laws. You might laugh about that, but you know what? There's people that think that. And one of my favorite pet peeves is that a lot of people call their propositions hypotheses and vice versa and mix up all the levels. Okay. And the last one is your findings are always presented as complete and conclusive. So when you're reviewing papers, you know, and you get people to say, we proved such and such. No, you did one study, possibly one small study of hundreds, and you may have found a little bit of support. Okay, so this is my favorite slide about this. The Darwin report is due, and the teacher says, I grant you evolution was a theory to begin with, but it evolved into a fact a long time ago. It doesn't work that way. All right, so why would you want to use quantitative methods? Well, you have standardized methodologies. The techniques, statistical techniques are public. Everyone knows them. You can find them. There's nice software to run them. Hopefully people disclose what they're doing for duplication and replication. Good luck in IS. We don't do that, which I think is really sad. We should do more of it. And it forces you to think about measurement, variables, and all kinds of things like construct validity, reliability, instrument validation. It forces you to be rigorous. And supposedly that's good, right, to be rigorous. So those are some reasons why you might want to use quantitative research. And also to get published in certain journals. Okay. The goal is to predict, control, measure, evaluate. The idea is to do theory testing or hypothesis testing. And you want to generalize to and across populations. This is the traditional positivist quantitative way of doing things. And you do both basic and theoretical research. It's often done with lab studies. They're, I like to say, controlled, contrived, and artificial. It's very hard to generalize them too far. They're not real world. They're generally done in the lab. Now people will say, well, what about field studies? And of course, there's middle ground. Okay. You should be able to state your research problem as a testable hypothesis if you're doing quantitative research. Okay? In other words, what relation exists between constructs? A really good research problem in quantitative research will give you more than one testable hypothesis, which is why earlier when someone had one outcome variable, I thought, oh, don't do that to yourself in your dissertation. Give yourself several, because what if that one outcome variable doesn't work, then you have no result. Okay, and this is quantitative deductive research. It's instrument-based. You're trying to measure the phenomenon, do statistical analysis on it. It's often done with surveys, experiments. Okay, so this is from a really nice article. Oops, wait a sec, wrong way. By Kuhn, and I took his diagram and automated it. I had both directions, qualitative and quantitative, but this is only quantitative. Okay, you're doing deductive confirmatory theory testing. So you have a theory that developed from somewhere, probably from qualitative, inductive or research, and you develop hypotheses, you do some controlled observations, you do your study, your design and everything, and hopefully what comes out at the end is something meaningful, results, and then you compare your theory to the results statistically and you try to show that there's not too much variation, right?
Well done, what a slide. Yeah.
You should see the other direction. I had to take it out. Okay. So, and very quickly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but these are things that you have to think about. If you're going to be a quantitative researcher, your topic is what people often say, biophysical, but of course we do a lot more behavioral stuff, as most social science and business does. Your theory, you have to have a theory usually before you start. There's a sample. The method is quantitative, observational. Supposedly you're very objective, although post-positivists are giving up on that after a while, that you're not truly objective. And you're supposed to say neutral. That would be hardcore positivism. And so this, you can imagine, then this over here would then be the other side that will be talked about next. Okay, so the emphasis is on numerical data and measurable variables. Okay, and you controlled conditions. The idea is to rule out the possibility of anything else causing problems, accounting for the relationships that you identify. And this is, I've got a few charts in here. This one I kind of like because it tells you kind of quantitative research. These are the ones that are normally quantitative, where your primary measures are done this way, and you can see there's other ones, but they're different, and then also descriptive research, surveys. But it's interesting, we in our field use surveys for all of these things. We do surveys a lot. And I think there's one more. This is a really nice one based on, Bob Gallier's paper. And the idea here is you try to figure out what level of analysis is meaningful and what traditional modes over here. This is all the quantitative, and then over here is qualitative. This is a really nice chart, if you're a really nice paper if you're trying to figure out whether you should use quantitative. Okay, so because we're running out of time, I'll just quickly say there's some issues. Rigor versus relevance, statistical versus practical significance, replication. We don't do enough of it in IS. We do none at all. Meta-analysis, again, we can't do it because people don't report enough information to do it. And then theoretical versus measurement models, the fact that people mix up the notations. These are some of the things that I think are issues that we're still struggling with in our discipline, and there's arguments and disputes, but we don't handle any of them very well right now. So there are issues with qualitative research, and there are a list of references, and it's on the stick. So hopefully I didn't take too long. Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is a pleasure for me to be here and share with you my ideas on doing research, methodological aspects, and in particular on doing qualitative research. I have to express my gratefulness to William for inviting me to be this afternoon with you. Well, what about qualitative? It has been mentioned that doing qualitative research may sound easier. Okay, I don't like numbers, I hate numbers, so let's do qualitative. Let's deal with words. Or someone say, well, I gain a good deal of expertise from the structural equation modeling. I don't want to read the theories and engage in that. It is not easy as that. There is more. The fundamental question that we need to ask is our philosophical paradigm. Okay? It has to do with our ontological, epistemological assumptions. What is reality for us? Is reality something that we can observe from here and reality is out there? Or we are part of that reality? That is the ontological assumption. What about epistemological assumptions? The only way to understand that reality is just observing from a side or being part of that world. So basically, we recognize three philosophical paradigms: positivist, interpretivist, critical theory. And if you are positivist, I would say that chances are that you are going to do quantitative studies. But if you are more interpretivist, more critical theorist, you will take a more qualitative approach. That's one consideration. The second one is, what are you going to do? And Nicholas has already mentioned. Are you going to test theory? Are you going to put forward hypotheses? Or you want to develop theory? Again, if you are going to test theory, or if that is your preference, you will take a more quantitative approach. But if you want to develop theory, your approach will be more qualitative. Well, now it comes to the practicalities. Now that we have a clear understanding of our philosophical paradigm, it is time to decide on our methodological approach. And we need to do two things. We need to collect data and we need to analyze data. That's all what we do. And during today's presentations, we saw many students saying how they have collected data, how they are analyzing the data, and so on. Well, if you do data collection, or qualitative techniques for data collection are basically interviews. What kind of interviews? Structured interviews, semi-structured interviews, unstructured interviews, and focus group interviews. Of course, interviewing people requires some social skills, okay? Because once you are in front of your participant, okay, your participant might be the prime minister, the CEO, an illiterate person, a child. Well, you need to be able to engage your participant in the conversation, because the participant is the one who will give you the data that you need for your analysis. Another way to obtain data is through observation. Well, it could be an obtrusive observation. If you observe, if you see that the meeting board and take notes what they are doing, what they are saying, or if you are engaged into the problem. I see that, I saw today that some of you are taking a more participant approach, actual research. I would like to mention something else about observation, because when you go to the research side, it could be the factory, the classroom, the sport field, the office, you observe many things. Why not including images in your analysis? It is possible. And you also mentioned today, documents. Could be private documents, like letters, emails, memos, internal memos, or public documents. Well, that is the data collection. After you have collected your data, you start analyzing your data. Different approaches. Some of you mentioned thematic analysis, grounded theory, which is inductive. Thematic analysis could be deductive or inductive. Content analysis, which is rather quantitative, but it still is a qualitative method. Semiotic analysis, if you are analyzing symbols, images, dress codes, narrative analysis, and critical discourse analysis. And I put this arrow, or this double arrow, just to emphasize that if you are doing qualitative research,